Hello, hello, hello. Good Saturday morning. So, we are going to get into painting, or continue painting rather, a Man Reaper from GW. I've done a little bit of work on this guy. Not a whole lot though. And I was going to do a tutorial for the skin, and I forgot how to record and didn't record any of it. So I will do a skin tutorial for skin like this if that's something that you want. Just let me know in the comments. And that's something that I can definitely do. A little bit of housekeeping before we start. There, with any luck, unless something goes insanely wrong, will be a video out next week starring this guy, which is a custom, well, custom is not the right word, holy cow. We'll just go with custom because my brain can't form words right now. Orc War Boss, converted, holy cow, a converted Orc War Boss that I made, and with any luck, he will be the star of the video next week. And on this channel, I'm going to try and do at least one video or live stream per weekend. So if that is something you're interested in, don't forget to subscribe. Now, I think what I'm going to do today, what we're going to work on, is cleaning up these sleeves here. Get some of that out, and then possibly, depending on how long that actually takes, maybe working on the metallics here, especially around his neck, to clean up so the skin is a little bit cleaner on his neck. But let's just get started. The sleeves, for the most part, I have planned to be kind of like a pink color. He's going to be very colorful. Pirates were quite colorful. So we're going to just go ahead and start laying down our base coat. It's not going to be super thin, and it is red over black, so this could take a moment here. Take a few coats, but we'll, got to start somewhere. Our other option, which is something that I was thinking about, is doing the sleeves a red instead of a pink. And using the black, just not painting the black in here in the recesses, and using that to help bring depth and contrast to the sleeves. And that is still an option. We're not hard set on this pink thing. I'm just putting down the base coat, so I never really know what I wish that I could say that I had a plan every time I started painting. I absolutely do not. Never have. Incapable of it. So we just start painting and see where we end up. I am going to try to get more videos out on the channel. I think I want to do at least one video, have one video ready, or do a live stream per weekend. Like maybe every Saturday afternoon or Sunday morning. I don't know. Kind of all depends. We'll see. We want to make sure that we get the connection for all the sleeves in there. And then we'll see how it looks with the black left over the red. And if it's not something that I want, we will put a little bit of red in there. And I think that the best way to achieve that, even if we want to go pink, would be to glaze in some red so that it keeps dark and we keep some of our contrast in there, but we also show that it's not just black, because if it was just black, it would be very unusual for the top of the sleeves to be pink. We definitely don't want it to be confusing to look at. So just get in here. Careful not to get any on our jacket. And this jacket is not finalized either. I think I want to make it more brown, more of a faded leather, if that makes sense. I kind of went with a sun bleached thing here, kind of worn at first, but that's by no means set in stone. I changed the plan about 900 times during a painting session, so. I am also going to start painting some of the commissions that I get on the channel. If that's something that would interest you in any way, please do leave your disinterest in the comments, and that can help influence the direction of the channel a bit. I just want to know what you guys want to see. Right now, just doing fast strokes just to get some paint down. I think it's going to have to be pink. I think I want to go, like, that's not the final, obviously this isn't the final product. There'll be a lot of highlighting, whether it's red or pink, but I think it's going to end up more pink than red. I think I'm headed to pink, honestly. And you can see the consistency that I'm using here. It's not super thin down, just to get the good coverage off the start. This is going to be the tricky area right here. This model is a I don't know if I actually mentioned this, but this is a Man Reaper from GW, and it's actually one of their old resin models. And I think that GW's older resin models are a absolute treasure. I love these old resin models. They are, now don't get me wrong, they are a nightmare. I'm working a little bit too thin here. They are a nightmare to clean up and to start the painting process. But nevertheless, they are fantastic. I do love them dearly. Get some paint down on this sleeve. Okay. Got a little dollop on the hat, but the hat is red, so, you know, happy accident. Okay, so we are going to put one more coat over here before we just give it a second to dry and, you know, calm down a bit. That's the thing that you have to realize about mini painting is that the videos that you see online, it's like, do this, then do this, then do this. But in reality, unless you're like army batch painting, it is paint these sleeves carefully and then leave it to dry for at least a couple of minutes, because if I'm working over here and I'm holding the mini, I could very easily put my finger in some red paint and then smear it on his belly, and then all of this work absolutely wasted. So don't get in a hurry. Just enjoy the process. And when you need to, when you have a few coats on there and it's sufficiently, you know, starting to cover, put it down. Wait a second. I also want to know if you guys are interested. I got a model off of Etsy that is probably the coolest orc. Probably can't see that very well, but it's probably the coolest orc that I've ever seen. And I would like to do a live stream painting this guy start to finish, probably in a couple live streams, because that's not a couple hour process right there. But I think that that is something that I would like to do. So, also, if that's something that you would like to see, please do let me know in the comments below. Sorry, give me just a second. I got a text. All right, back to our guy. So, not great coverage off the bat. You see, we got a lot of spots here where it's showing through, and I use a mixture. Just so you know, I feel like I need to bring this up. But I don't stick with a paint range, and I advise that you don't either, because it's very limiting unless you just find one that does everything that you want to do and you love it. I use a combination of Scale 75 and Citadel. Scale 75 is extremely matte, and that's what I love about it. And GW, while being a more satin paint range, is just what I started with. So I have that kind of love for it, and it has its uses. It really does. I am a huge Scale 75 fan, though. So we are actually, the base coat for these is going to be Scale 75, and then if we want to go up more pink, I'm going to add. That is not the correct bottle. I'm going to add some Corax White. And normally, in a situation like this, you may not want to, depending on the effect that you're going for, you may not want to highlight with white. And that's the thing that you hear a lot, is don't highlight with white. And the reason that you hear that is because it tends to desaturate what you're painting. But if we're working on a pirate whose sea clothes are going to be tattered and worn, a little bit of desaturation is actually kind of what we're looking for, isn't it? So, that's not something that I am scared of. I'm going to move my microphone closer so I don't have to yell. Is that better? I feel like that's a lot louder. So while we do move towards desaturation, that's actually the effect that we're going for. All right. We're getting a much more opaque coverage now. And I think actually, so what I'm going to do, because these black lines are extremely harsh, is I'm going to take some of this Scale 75 that we're using, and I'm going to thin it way down, wash consistency, kind of like that right there. And I'm going to run it in the cracks here. And that's going to tint it red, so that it's not just a straight black, because it wouldn't be. These are folds of fabric. Folds of fabric do not, unless it's like, you know, burlap, and even then, don't block all of the light. And so I want a bit of a transition between what I'm doing and the black line in there. So we'll just give that a little love there. Same thing over here. So we got some rip sleeves over here. Just to kind of bring everything together. There we go. I like it. Okay, so now we're going to start to introduce a little bit of white. And we are going to Corax white. Yes, we are. We are going to Corax white. The absolute worst thing about GW paint is the white. It's absolutely awful. And it was so awful, in fact, that it clogged up in the paint and then squirted into my wet palette water, which is just, you love to see it. We'll paint with it for a little bit and then I'll change the water. You love to see it. And we're not going to be super careful with this. May have gone up a bit too far, but we'll blend those transitions out. So, we want to just towards the top. That is a harsh transition, so may have added a bit too much white. But that's okay. You can't be afraid to paint. Everything is fixable. It's just paint. You're not going to ruin a model. So you might as well try some cool things. You know, I'm actually really enjoying this color that we got. We just need to blend the transitions, and that's easy. That's no problem. So, and the cool thing is, if you decide that this is too much pink for you, you don't like it, you can always go back over it with your base coat color. You are not going to ruin this model with paint. Most people, I think, are afraid that if they start painting something wrong, that they just have to throw it in the trash if it gets to a certain point, and that is absolutely not true. Even if you put too much paint on and there's a texture, there are ways to get rid of that paint, so never be afraid to paint. So I kind of like the color that we've got there. We just need to smooth it out a bit, and we're going to do that with this very thin down red that we used earlier in the cracks. We're just going to come over here and kind of go over the transitions. Just like that. And then, after doing this a couple of times, magically, we will have at least a semi-smooth transition. And by all means, if you want, you can go smoother and smoother and smoother. I'm more worried about contrast, personally, so. We just keep going over those transition areas. I like what we got here. Now, we will come over to the other arm and do the exact same thing with the exact same color that we used before. So, let's bring it from his shoulder, because he had to obviously the arm that's carrying the anchor you want to be out and visible because it's going to be, you know, bulging muscular. He's making a tactical decision and it makes perfect sense. The tactical decision of which arm to show. The anchor is going to be much heavier. Which, you know what? I really underestimated how strong this guy was. I just realized he's holding a freaking anchor. That's a absolute mad lad. We do want to outline all of the parts. I'm actually going to get too much paint on my brush there. Be sure to outline the upward facing parts of this. Short, fast strokes so that it's easier to blend later. And now, just like that, we're ready to use our red wash that we made to go over transitions. And you only want to go over the part where it transitions. If you start painting up over, you're gonna leave like a red line up here. See, I went a little bit too far there. So you're gonna leave a red line. The objective is just to paint where it meets. Just right here. Perfect. And we will push the contrast on these sleeves a bit more. We do want to leave it a little bit desaturated, so just a little bit more white on top and we will be good to go. Headed towards a beautiful pink, which I honestly think that this pirate would enjoy. I think that he would love his pink sleeves to go with his brown jacket. And you know, I can't judge him at all though, because my wife dresses me in the morning 100%, so you do you. So let's see how this compares to our last layer. Oh yeah, you see that? So here's our last layer, and that's where we're at now, which is a good step up. I like that amount of lightning in the paint. I wasn't sure what to call that. I like the amount of white that we added to that paint to get our next layer. So now I'm going to concentrate it just like right here. Even smaller area. Perfect. Paint in little lines, just sketch it on there. It's fabric, it's gonna have lines and stuff visible when the light hits it. I actually have more paint on my brush than I want. I just want to use the very tip of it, and I had too much paint on. So that is what we are after there. I spent way too many hours worrying about perfect smoothness. And it's just crazy because it looks so much better. Like, look at that. That's not blended at all. But look at the contrast that you get. God, it looks so good. Contrast is so... I wish that when I started painting, which admittedly wasn't that long ago. I act like I've been painting for 30 years. But I wish that the first lesson that I learned was that contrast is so much more important than smoothness. So much more important. But alas, it was not, and I spent hours worrying about blends and silly things, and really it can start to suck the fun out of your hobby if you're not careful, because at the end of the day, I paint because it's fun and I love it, and you got to be careful that you don't let something like the blends on your skin absolutely ruin a hobby for you. You should always step away from your hobby table feeling relaxed and like you know, like just like you unwound a little bit. That's why I do this. I don't know why you do this. Guess I can't speak for everybody, but that is 100%. This is my wind down right here. It's been a long week. Okay. That's looking really good. I really like what's happening here. So, we are going to take some water and make a wash out of our last paint. Just like that. And we're going to go over the transitions. It's that simple. And I'm actually going to drag this down all the way just to kind of lighten everything else, because I do want to trend towards pink. So I'm actually okay with washing pretty much everything except for the light areas that I just painted with this paint. And I feel like I need to go back in there with red, and I definitely will. In the cracks there, I feel like it's still very black in there, and that's not what we want, because like I said, it's going to be like a thin fabric on a t-shirt, and that's not going to absolutely block out all light. So we do need to remedy that. Other than that, though, I like what's going on here. And with glazes, be patient. It's going to take a few coats for you to even see what's happening. There's not much of a change here, okay? Be patient with it. It will change. It does matter what you're doing, and it will change it over like a few coats. If you rush it, you're going to end up just smearing something that's closer to a layer consistency. It's not going to blend, and then you're just going to get mad. So, just wait. Be patient. Keep moving your brush, and eventually it will look the way you want, I promise. Put a little bit more red in here. I actually want to bring red back into this crack on the sleeve here. Okay, let's go ahead and put some more glaze of this last layer on here. I think I got a little bit overzealous on the sleeve here. You can see the difference here. This is pink and this is kind of blending more towards our last layer. So I definitely want to come back in with just a little bit of this last layer that we put on and kind of bring that color back. There we go. There we go. There's that contrast. Perfect. All right. Let's go up probably one more step here. And then we will see where we are at with the sleeves.
And this is going to be a super small highlight for this last one. We just want to highlight some of the edges and just do line highlights on the shirt. You can see how much we went up. It's a decent amount. So we do want to water it down as well. The more you water down your paint, the more translucent it's going to be. And it actually helps with the blending in the end. So we're going to come in here and we're just going to do these little lines here. That's exactly what we're after right there. Leaving some of the previous step. Desaturating a little bit. I like it. And we are going to come back in and probably glaze over this because you have to remember that we're not this is not armor. So it's not going to have these harsh highlights on it. Everything is going to be kind of soft because it is cloth. And so that's definitely something that we want to keep in mind while we're doing this. Just tiny lines. I really like the way that's turning out. Okay. So we'll do this guy. We'll highlight the edges. Oops. Alright, I really like the way that's coming out. So now let's come over here and let's just pick out some of these edges here. Just the upward facing ones. This is our smallest highlight. This is probably as light as we're going to go on the cloth. Could probably go just a little bit lighter, but I don't think that we need to push it too awful much. Alright, I really like how that turned out. So, let's, just to make sure that we don't lose any of that super bright that we did, I'm going to add just a little bit of white to our last layer so it's not quite where we're at. See the difference here? And I'm going to bring that down to a glaze. And we're going to glaze over it. We're going to watch some magic. It's all going to blend. I say magic. It's not going to be super magical, I suppose. But we are gonna watch this kind of blend out just a little bit, get a little bit lighter. And again, glazes, probably a couple of coats. Don't freak out. I feel like I actually need to bring this highlight back a little bit on here. I feel like too much of this sleeve is red. I don't really like how I've got too much red here, so I'll just go ahead and use my glaze and just drag it this way, and that's gonna pull some of the light towards the edge of the sleeve. The thing to remember is when you're glazing, whenever you pull your brush, you deposit more paint here. You're pulling the paint and you deposit it where you leave or where you lift off. So always pull towards the brightest point or darkest point depending on what your glaze, the effect that you're going for. If you want to darken something, pull towards shadows. If you want to highlight something, pull towards the brightest point. See, that's already working there. We don't want to overdo it. We just want to do it. There we go. There we go. I like that. I like how that turned out. Alright, for now, until I change my mind in like 5 minutes, that may be his sleeve. That may be his sleeve for now. So now let's break some of these metallics up, shall we? Just to get a base coat on. I'm gonna start with, what did I use? Where is it? I'm gonna start with Thunderhawk Blue to do kind of like a steel chain around his neck and on the hook. So I want to come through here and just get some color on this chain. And we're going to be extremely careful around this skin. But at the same time, I do need to get color on the chain. So it's kind of a give and take. Just put paint on the tip of your brush. Take your time. We got the beard to watch out for. We got the skin to watch out for. There's a lot going on here, and it would be a shame to mess any of it up. Okay. That's looking good so far. I like that. Now, let's paint a little bit more bravely and put the first coat on the chain. And I'm still making the decision on whether or not this is a used anchor and it's going to be just absolutely covered in rust and stuff like that. Or if he just took the anchor and now the ship can't stop. So it could be like a brand new anchor. I don't know yet. I don't know. I feel like any man that wants to rip the sleeve off his anchor carrying arm is going to make the conscious choice that he wants a good looking anchor too. You know? I feel like a buff arm would be kind of a waste if you're carrying a crappy looking anchor. So we could paint it new metal, but I'm not sure yet. Just put a nice base coat on all of this stuff. See if we can get some more. I don't like how much paint's on my brush around that skin. I get a little nervous around the skin. That would be a real shame, wouldn't it? Okay. Okay. All right. Now, oh my gosh. Where's what I used? So let's see. This is another. I started out with GW and I'm moving to scale 75. This Arctic Blue is probably my favorite color in their range. It's amazing. I love it. I absolutely love it. I am also a huge fan. Where is it? Where is it? My desk is a mess, so I can't ever find anything when I need it. I had a bright yellow, or kind of like a desaturated yellow, from scale 75 that escapes me at the moment. When I find it, I will show it, but that is not going to be right now, apparently. So, let's go ahead and mix in some of that Arctic Blue. And let's just start touching the areas on the chain. We don't want to put too much because doing NMM on something this small is not going to be easy. These, however, we can just go ahead and put like a nice little bit there, a nice little bit there. All of the upward facing lengths on this chain. Just kind of sketch it in. Doesn't have to be super smooth or anything like that. Metal reflections are generally kind of jagged. So that's the effect that I'm going for here. Okay, we'll do some over here. There we go. Okay, now we will add just a bit more ice blue. You know what? Actually, I wanna call an audible here. Okay, so one of the important things when doing NMM is to maintain saturated color, especially brights, next to very dark sections. And I kind of removed that by accident, so we need to bring some of this back. We need to, like, just paint in a few dark areas, just like that. See, we've got color all the way down, and the sun wouldn't shine on this part. We may have some secondary reflections from the chain link above, but we got to keep in mind that if you want it to look metallic, you got to have that very dark next to your highlight. And over here is going to be dark. Okay, that's looking better already. I like it. Now, let's take a thin down mixture of our previous layer, just like before, and kind of glaze over the transitions and glaze into the black. That way it kind of blends. Doesn't need to be perfect. It's okay for it to be jagged. Metal is not perfectly, unless you're looking at a perfect cylinder in perfect unmoving lighting that is perfectly proportional, it's not going to be, well, perfect. So, I just realized, by the way, with my enormous brain, that I didn't paint this part right here, and it would definitely have at least a little bit of a highlight on it. So, let's go ahead and put just a little bit of a highlight on it. Enormous brain. That looks significantly better. Yes. Okay. So, back to the NMM. Let's go ahead and grab some more of this Thunderhawk blue and some more of this Arctic blue. And now mix up a lighter tone. And because we're doing this on such small areas, I'm not super worried about like having more. Normally when I'm doing NMM, I want several transitions so that it's easier to blend. But you see, we're going to go straight from our last color to that. And we're going to be a bit more selective. Just kind of tapping the brush on the links here. Nothing crazy, nothing fancy. Just to get some of that NMM effect in there. We do want some brighter points. There we go. Now, for this guy, we're going to come over here and we're going to stay in our previous highlight. You can see how that's kind of already starting to shape up like a metallic shine there. I'm really liking what's happening. Already looking fantastic. You are absolutely your worst critic. That's already looking really good. Perfect. Now we definitely want to get the edges too. And that's going to help more than anything with your metallic look, is getting your edges. And there's several edges on here. So just lightly, we'll go ahead and define some of these at this stage. We will keep highlighting them with the rest of the chain, but highlighting edges is another essential step to NMM because the edges on metal are extremely reflective. Catch a lot of light. So we will just do the reflections on, and you'll see the difference here in just a second. Yeah, that looks way better. Okay. All right, so let's make a glaze with our last color. Just a super thin glaze. And let's kind of glaze over that transition area. Not super worried about the blends, but we do want a bit of a transition here, so just go over it gently. I am liking what's happening. Okay. Cool. So, let's go to, at this point, I think we can just, because we're working on such a small area, go to pure Arctic blue. It's quite a jump, but I think that we're okay. We can always blend out the transitions, so let's start over here and let's pull that down here. Kind of mess that up a little bit, but that's okay. Pull that there. Just tiny lines, not blopping it or blodging. Tiny lines. I don't know what I was trying to tell you. We're starting to creep into metallic territory here. Alright, now let's get those edges. Perfect. Let's get the edges. Yeah, we're definitely creeping into metallic territory. So, now we glaze, just like last time. It's just a rinse and repeat. Paint, glaze, paint, glaze. That's the best way to do it, though. All right, let's go ahead and glaze over that. This next step is where the metallic is gonna come to life. And you will see that shortly. All right, now we are going to mix Arctic blue and just a faint bit of it, not a lot at all, with some Arctic, or with some, we're going to mix Arctic blue with Arctic white. No, we're going to mix Arctic blue. Wow. I'm going to take a second and compose myself, make sure I'm not having a stroke. I'm going to take Arctic blue and mix it with Corax white. Wow. That was so hard to say. And just do a thin line across. And this is going to be where our metallic should really start to come to life here. Tiny lines. Just like before. Oh, shoot. Messed that up. Tiny lines, just like before. Now we're looking metallic. So let's get a little bit more paint on our brush here. Not too much though. We want it to flow without like globbing on there. And then let's do our edges. Leaving the black in all the recesses is really going to help sell that metallic effect that we're kind of going for here. Perfect. Okay, so that is looking pretty close to metallic there. The one thing that I do want to do is come back in with my black wash. So I feel like we kind of took away the black a bit, and I want to bring this just kind of pull towards the shadow here. That's going to help a lot too. Pull towards the shadow. Put a little shadow area down on the bottom of this link here. Kind of pull over to these shadows and make sure that they stay shadows. Looking really good. Okay, so let's make a glaze out of our previous layer. Just like before. Oh, you know what? Shoot. We should probably finish painting his necklace, shouldn't we? Just little touches. And now, come in here with the white. Make sure there's not very much on my brush at all. I just want, that's actually probably too much. That's better. And we come in and we just touch certain spots, like right here. Right here. Sorry guys. Right here. Just a couple spots through there. And our pirate has got a metal necklace on. Now we'll do this glaze. And then we will have a metallic anchor. I'm going to bring the stream to a close with just blending this here. So we'll do one more little pass over it. Just like that. And then we're going to go back in with white. And retouch up our highlights here. go. Quick and MM. So, now we've got our pirate with painted sleeves, which may or may not stay that color. I'm just kind of checking it out. I just realized that I should probably paint some of this in here. I will. And a quick kind of dirty NMM necklace and chain. So if you guys enjoyed this, drop a like, let me know. Next weekend we will do a little bit more work on this guy. Yeah, thanks. You guys